The Grand Council chamber of the Vazrothi fleet floated like a black crown in the silent void between stars. Its walls, made of obsidian metal, swallowed every light that dared enter. No voices echoed, no laughter lived here, only fear. Commander Krosath stood in the center, arms folded in the ancient pose of shame. His shoulders were stiff. His second pair of eyes, normally sharp in battle, were lowered now. He had nothing left to say. Before him sat the 9 exalted, the leaders of the entire Vazrothi Empire, warriors, rulers, tacticians, but not one of them spoke kindly now. The silence ended with a single voice. "What do you mean to tell us?" It was High Counselor Morvala, and her words came like a blade through fog. Krosath's voice was low. "The front has collapsed." No one moved. Morvala leaned forward. "You were given 30 dreadships to planet killers and the strength of our elite, and still, you return with this." "They were ready for us," Krosath said. Ready? The Zenthari are smarter than we thought." Across the galaxy, the war was slipping out of the Vazrothi's hands. The Zenthari resistance had regrouped faster than expected. Smaller planets had joined them. The strategy was no longer brute force, it was surgical, precise, patient. And now, they were winning. Morvala stood slowly. "If the Zenthari win, everything falls. Our trade routes, our colonies, our name in the stars." She pointed a sharp finger toward Krosath. "And you expect us to surrender?" Krosath looked up, double quotes. "No, I expect you to listen." Gasps echoed. No one interrupted the 9, but Krosath took a step forward, lowering his voice even more. "We were never meant to win this war alone." Morvala's eyes narrowed. "What are you saying?" he said. 2 words. "Call the humans." For a long time, no one said anything. Even the guards froze. Then one of the exalted whispered, "The Terrans. They're untested, undisciplined, unpredictable." Krosath nodded. "And that is why we need them." High Counselor Morvala's voice became cold. "They're not part of the Alliance. They never joined our rules. They build strange machines. They fight with madness." "Yes," Krosath said. "And yet, the Zenthari fear them." Hours later, the decision was made. A signal was sent across the quiet, deep threads of dark space, through back channels and secret codes. The message was short. "We need your help. Everything is falling." And on a blue world far from the front lines, a quiet screen blinked to life. A reply came in less than a minute. "We'll send someone. Don't ask for details." Back in the Grand Council chamber, Morvala frowned at the response. "They're not even telling us who." Zornvex, watching from the edge of the hall, said softly, "That's the most human thing they could do." The entire Vazrothi war station prepared for the arrival of their new ally. Security drones scanned the air every 10 seconds. Guard squads lined the docks, and the 9 exalted waited, silent and uncertain. No one knew what to expect. The humans hadn't sent a fleet, not a team, not even a warship. They sent one. Ship. Small, ugly, old. The kind of ship you'd expect to find floating abandoned in a scrapyard. Zornvex stood near the landing bay with Plink, his small assistant. "That's it," Plink whispered. "That can't be their best." Zorn shook his head slowly. "Which is exactly why I'm nervous." The ship landed with a soft hiss. No weapons activated, no fanfare, no anthem, just a quiet ramp, lowering. And from the shadows, one figure stepped out, a human, wearing a heavy jacket, sunglasses, carrying a duffel bag and chewing what appeared to be gum. He looked around, then squinted at the 2 guards in full armor. "Which way's the cafeteria?" Commander Krosath arrived. Seconds later, he froze when he saw the man. "You're the representative." The human looked him up and down, unimpressed. "Name's Ray Torres. You asked for help, so here I am." Morvala stormed forward, eyes flashing. "This is a joke." "One man," Ray shrugged. "We prefer efficiency." In the war chamber, the 9 exalted questioned him. "We expected at least a battalion." One growled. Ray unzipped his bag and pulled out a folded jumpsuit and a datapad. "We don't send many," he said casually. "We send what works." Krosath stepped closer. "What exactly are you going to do?" Ray smiled. "Depends. How badly are you losing?" Zornvex watched from the corner, his eyes wide. Ray didn't seem angry, or proud, or emotional at all. He looked like someone bored with the Universental. Someone gave him a reason not to. And then came the real test. Just 3 hours after Ray's arrival, a Zenthari stealth ship broke through outer defense rings and attacked an outpost on Taraxis 3. A forward communications moon. Ray didn't ask for backup, didn't request a team, he asked for a coffee and a map. Within 45 minutes, the Zenthari ship was disabled, its crew captured, and the outpost completely secure. No one saw what Ray actually did. The cameras glitched, the recordings failed. All that remained was one quiet voice from a captured Zenthari officer. It wasn't a man, it was something else. It didn't blink, it didn't stop. The 9 Exalted replayed that quote in their council chamber. He acted alone, Morvala said, her voice low. He disabled an enemy ship alone. Zorn leaned forward. Now, imagine if Earth sent 10. Ray walked back onto the station later that cycle, tossed his jacket onto a bench, and sat with his boots up. Krosath approached him slowly. You are not what we expected. Ray took a sip of his drink. That's what everyone says. Before things get loud. The galaxy couldn't believe the report. A human Just One had stopped a Zenthari strike force in under an hour. The Zenthari were known for speed, for silence, for brutal precision. But this time, they were defeated by a man who asked for coffee and a map. In every military command center, in every Outer Rim news station, one name spread like a virus: Ray Torres. Some called him a ghost, others a weapon, but the Zenthari called him something different, the echo that hunts. Inside their hidden command ship, deep in a dark system of rotting moons, the Zenthari War Council gathered. They played the few seconds of broken security footage over and over. Ray walking forward. No shield, no armor, no fear. We need to destroy him, said their high strategist. But how? Asked another. We can't predict him. The strategist narrowed his eyes. Then we won't fight him directly. We'll let him come to us. On the Vasrothi war station, Commander Krosath paced the corridor. Zorn Vex caught up to him. Is it true? Torres left without orders. Yes, Krosath said. He heard a transmission marked, just static, and a set of coordinates. Then, he packed a bag and left. Alone, Krosath nodded. Always. Ray Torres now flew toward an uncharted moon, surrounded by asteroid debris. The signal he'd intercepted was old, faint, not even meant for the Vasrothi, but he recognized the tone. A trap. He smiled. Let's see what they've learned. The Zenthari had set the field carefully. A downed ship, staged to look human. Distress beacons hidden across the surface. Sniper drones in orbit. A full strike team underground, waiting for him to land. Ray landed anyway. No weapons drawn, no backup called. He stepped onto the dust-covered ground, looked around, and whistled. Not bad. Inside the ambush zone, the Zenthari leader whispered, "He's here. Ready drones. Prepare to strike." But Ray didn't head toward the fake distress signal. He walked in the opposite direction, right toward the sniper nest. Wait, one Zenthari hissed. He knows. Ray moved fast now. He threw a small black sphere into the air. It split into 3 dots. Each one emitted a counter-frequency pulse, scrambling the drones, crashing systems, shutting down hidden weapons. Then he vanished into the rocks. 10 minutes later, half the Zenthari strike team was unconscious. The rest were trapped in their own underground tunnels, and Ray, he sat inside their command tent, boots on the table, sipping from a thermal cup he'd brought himself. The Zenthari leader was tied to a pipe. Behind him, Ray didn't look back. You know what your mistake was? He asked. The Zenthari growled. Underestimating you. No, Ray said. Thinking I came here alone. He held up a signal beacon and smiled. At that moment, a Vasrothi carrier ship uncloaked above the moon. Krosath's voice rang across the comms. Ray said, "We'd be needed in 5 minutes." He was wrong. We were needed in 4. Back at the war station, High Counselor Morvala reviewed the report with a frown. He anticipated the trap before we even saw it. Ava Rios, the human diplomat, now stationed with them, nodded. That's what humans do. We don't just survive chaos. She tapped the file. We plan for it. The Zenthari had failed to kill Ray Torres with their trap. Worst, they had been humiliated, captured, exposed, mocked, across star systems. Now their leaders knew one thing, clearly: we can't beat him in combat, so we will beat him with politics. Inside the Galactic Council chambers, the Zenthari launched their next move. They demanded an emergency hearing. Their accusation was bold. Earth has violated neutrality. They've interfered in a war that is not theirs. The chambers buzzed with confusion and unease at Zorn. Vex leaned toward Ava Rios. They're turning you into the aggressor. Ava didn't blink. That means they're scared. The Zenthari leader, Vezin Ra, stood tall. We asked the Council to expel Earth's involvement and place sanctions on any human contact. The chamber held its breath. If the motion passed, Earth would be cut off. Ray Torres would be stranded. And the Vizrothi left alone once again. But Ava Rios stood to reply, calm, clear, unshaken. You accuse us of interfering. She pointed to the holoscreen. It was you who attacked neutral space. You who sent stealth ships. You who planted traps. The screen flickered, showing recordings from Ray's helmet cam. Zenthari agents. Secret tunnels. Hidden weapons. Proof. The room fell silent. But Ava wasn't done. She turned to the Council's highest members. Earth didn't come to conquer. We came to answer a call for help. She stepped back. And if you silence us now, who will answer your call when it comes? The vote was quick. The motion to expel Earth failed. And in a rare move, the Council issued a warning. Any further action against Earth or its people will be seen as a threat to galactic peace. Back at the war station, Krosath raised a brow. As he read the report, they tried to erase you with politics. Ray sat on a crate, fixing his boot. Yeah, but they sent the wrong message to the wrong woman. You mean Ava? Ray smirked. She talks like a teacher, but she plays like a wolf. Meanwhile, across the stars, the Zenthari had one final meeting. Vezin Ra slammed his fist on the table. Enough diplomacy, enough traps, we go back to war. But how? His second-in-command asked. Ray Torres can't be stopped. Vezin's eyes burned with fury. Then we find out what Earth fears and use it against them. In the cold darkness of space, the Zenthari High Command gathered in a sealed war room. Vezin Ra stood before a hologram of Earth, spinning slowly in deep blue and green. They do not fear weapons, he growled. They fear their own memories. His advisor tilted her head. You want to use history? Vezin pointed at the map. We find their scars, the wars they buried, the cities they lost, the wounds they don't speak of, and then we tear them open. On the Vizrothi war station, Ray Torres sat quietly in the training hall, watching simulations of old Earth battles. Not from space, not from other planets. From Earth itself. The world wars, the famines, the rebuilding. He didn't say much, but his eyes were focused, distant. Ava Rios entered. They've been digging into your past, she said softly. I know, Ray said. They think pain makes humans weaker. Ray's expression didn't change. Then they'd never met. One of us after we've lost everything. The next day, the Zenthari launched a new kind of attack. They hijacked the Council's communication stream. Every screen, every station, every outpost began broadcasting one thing. Earth's worst history. Cities burning, civilians crying, wars raging. This is what humans are. The Zenthari voice echoed. Broken, violent, hopeless. Many council members were disturbed. Some called for a second vote. Even among the Vizrothi, doubt began to spread. But Ray didn't answer the broadcast with anger. He stood in the central hall, activated a personal file, and added to it. He showed the disasters, the struggles, the failure, and then he showed what came after. Children rebuilding homes, doctors working in war zones, people laughing again even with scars. You think these images make us ashamed, he said, voice steady. This is why we keep standing. The Council watched. The galaxy listened. And for the first time, Earth wasn't just feared or mocked, they were understood. The Zenthari hadn't exposed a weakness. They had revealed the reason. Humans never stopped fighting, because pain wasn't their end, it was their beginning. That night, Zorn Vex looked out across the station window and whispered. They tried to burn Earth's memory, but instead, they lit a fire in all of us. But far away, Vezin Ra had already moved forward. If history couldn't break humanity, then he would bring a fleet, a final war, and this time, he wouldn't underestimate Ray Torres. The stars over Vizrothi Prime began to vanish, not from nightfall, from ships, thousands of them. The Zenthari Armada had returned on this time. They weren't hiding behind traps or lies. They had come in force, burning through outer colonies, shutting down relays, heading straight for the heart of the Alliance. Commander Krosath stood in the war chamber, arms shaking slightly. We're outnumbered 5-1. Morvala stared at the hologram. They're not just attacking, they're erasing us. Panic spread across Council worlds. Some species prepared to surrender. Others fled. And on the edge of the Vazrothi station, Ray Torres stood on the platform, watching the stars blink out one by one. Plink approached slowly. "They're almost here." Ray didn't speak. He simply pulled a small device from his jacket. Plink frowned. "What's that?" Ray pressed the button. Suddenly, the station's long-range scanners lit up. New ships appeared. Not Vazrothi, not Xenthari. Human ships. One by one, vessels bearing Earth's markings jumped into the system. They weren't massive, they weren't shiny, but each one carried systems the galaxy didn't understand. Stealth tech, railgun towers, atmospheric disruptors, and firepower built for a final stand in the war chamber. The council stared at the growing swarm of Earth's ships. Zorn Vex whispered, "How many?" Ava Rios replied calmly, "This is just one division. The rest are waiting." Movala looked up. Waiting for what? Waiting for Ray to say go. Ray Torres stood on the command deck of one of Earth's lead destroyers, chewing gum as always. The Xenthari fleet was closing in. He tapped the console. "This is Ray Torres. You came for fear. Let me send you home with regret." He pointed to the screen. "Open the line." A soldier nodded. "Ready, sir." Ray leaned into the mic. "To all Earth ships, no mercy." What happened next was recorded across 50 systems. Earth ships split apart, the Xenthari formation using patterns never seen before. Their engines rotated mid-flight. Weapons fired while inverted. Crew rotated jobs mid-battle like a living machine. Xenthari dreadnoughts fell in under 5 minutes. Command ships vanished into debris, and the heart of the invasion, crushed by a single railgun strike from Ray's destroyer. The battle ended in 12 minutes. The same council leaders who had once doubted Earth now stood in silence. Ray returned to the Vazrothi station later that night. His ship was scratched, dented, and smeared with burn marks. He stepped off with a limp and a cup of coffee. Krosath stared at him. "You came back." Ray took a sip. "I always do." The Xenthari were broken, their armada destroyed, their strongholds taken, their fleet scattered, but they weren't done. Not yet. Inside a shadowed chamber of their last command base, the remaining generals gathered in silence. They had one target now. Not Earth, not the Alliance, but Ray Torres. "Cut off the head," said General Threx, "and the body will panic." Back on the Vazrothi war station, Ray Torres was quieter than usual. The battle had taken its toll. His limp was worse. His eyes dashed tired, but he still checked every perimeter, still inspected patrol shifts, still watched the stars. Zorn Vex approached him. "You don't rest," Ray replied. "I rest when my people stop needing me." That night, it began. The Xenthari launched a covert strike, not a fleet, not a weapon, an assassination team, cloaked, genetically enhanced, dropped onto the station in silence. Their orders: eliminate the human, make the galaxy lose its symbol. The alarms didn't sound, but Ava Rios knew. Something was wrong. Ray hadn't checked in for his late shift. Zorn rushed through the corridors with a security unit. They reached his quarters. The door was open, the room dark, and inside, Threes lay motionless on the floor. Ray Torres stood in the center, cut on his arm, blood on his sleeve. One boot missing, and still chewing gum. "Guess they didn't get the memo," he said. The council saw the attempt as a declaration of war, but Earth didn't respond with anger. They responded with something worse: speed. In less than 10 hours, every Xenthari communications hub went dark. Weapon factories exploded without warning. Their main databanks were erased, clean, no backup, no trace. Ray Torres never left the station, but his orders moved like lightning through Earth's network. Every strike precise, every move silent. The galaxy watched in disbelief. The humans had come late to the war, but now they were ending it. In the chambers of the broken Xenthari Empire, a final message was broadcast to every corner of space: "We surrender, unconditionally." Ray sat back in the command chair, rubbing his shoulder. Zorn Vex entered quietly. "It's over." Ray nodded, then said, almost too softly, "They thought if they broke me, the galaxy would fold." He looked out at the stars. "They didn't realize something important." Zorn asked, "What?" Ray smiled. "I'm not the only one." The war was over. The Xenthari surrendered. Their fleets had vanished. Their world stood silent, and the council, once divided, was now united. Not by treaties or fear, but by one human's choice to help. Inside the Grand Council chamber, Representatives from all member species met for the first time in peace. They stood before a newly built platform shining, large, powerful. The seat of unity. It was meant for the new leader of the galaxy, and every voice agreed on one thing. That seat belongs to Earth. Commander Crosath, Zorn Vex Ava Rios, stood beside Ray Torres. He wore the same boots, the same worn-out jacket, but today, his face was serious. Ava stepped forward. "The Council offers you this," she said, "in thanks, in respect, in trust." But Ray didn't move. He looked up at the tall golden seat and shook his head. "You want a symbol," he said, "someone to lead, to rule, to give orders." He stepped away from the seat and turned toward the crowd. "But we didn't come here to lead. We came because someone asked for help." He paced slowly, voice calm but firm. "Earth knows what it's like to lose, to be alone, to rebuild. And we came because we couldn't stand by and let someone else suffer the same way." The room was quiet. Even the most powerful rulers listened. Ray stopped walking and looked directly into the Council's eyes. "You don't need one throne, you need many hands, working together, and Earth will always answer the call. But we don't need to sit above anyone to do it." He nodded at Ava. Double quotes, "Give the seat to someone who believes in peace before power." The room erupted, not in protest, but in applause. One by one, council members stood. Even the Vazrathi, the oldest warriors of the stars, bowed their heads in respect. Later, in a quiet corner of the station, Ray sat with his boots up on a crate, chewing the last stick of gum in his pocket. Plink sat beside him. "You could rule the galaxy," Plink said. Ray smirked. "And Miss Soupnight back home." Zorn Vex joined them. "So what happens now?" Ray looked out the window. "Now the galaxy learns what humans really are. Not rulers, not monsters, not myths. We're the ones who show up when everyone else runs." Far across the stars, in small outposts and giant cities, new signs began to appear. Simple human handprint, a whisper spoken in dozens of languages. "If you're in trouble, call Earth." And that's how the galaxy changed. Not because of domination, not because of force, but because one human didn't walk away when things looked hopeless. He walked into the fire, and the whole galaxy followed. Part 2. They were losing everything. The humans arrived. No one expected Earth to get involved again. Not after the war with the Xanthari, not after Ray Torres saved the galaxy with 12 ships and 1 railgun. The galaxy had already written Earth's story. They were heroes, but quiet heroes. Until now. The first signal came from the Drenari Expanser place, so deep in dark space that even pirates stayed away. 3 colonies vanished without sound. No explosions, no distress calls, no survivors. Just silence. In the Galactic Council's Great Hall, fear was growing again. Sorel Dan, the Council's record keeper, spoke clearly. "This is not like the Zen. This is something older, smarter." Commander Crosath sat forward, concerned. "What force removes whole worlds without a trace?" Zorn Vex looked to Ava Rios, Earth's diplomat. "Will Earth answer again?" Ava only smiled. "Earth never left." At that moment, across the void, a small silver vessel dropped out of hyperspace above station THA Lost-9. The station's security scanned it. Single life form, human. Inside, a young woman sat at the controls, humming a soft tune. Her name, Alex Vega. She didn't wear armor. She didn't carry weapons, just a black backpack, a scanner the size of her hand, and a strange metal cube that buzzed softly. She stepped onto the station platform and looked around. Looked quiet. She said to no one. A tech officer ran up. "You're from Earth. We expected someone like Ray Torres." Alex smiled. "Ray's the reason I'm here." At Council HQ, Ava Rios sent out a message. "The galaxy asked for help again. Earth has answered with one of our best thinkers." Commander Crosath read the file. "She's not military." "No," Ava said. "She's better. She's the one we send when we need to solve the impossible." That night, Alex walked through Thalos 9's deep archive levels. The lights flickered. Something was wrong. She stopped suddenly and stared at the wall. "No scorch marks," she whispered. "No break-in. No alarms, but the room's rewired." She tapped her cube. It hummed louder, and then something blinked behind her. A shadow moved where there should be none. Alex didn't run. She turned calmly and threw the cube at the wall. It flashed white. The shadow screamed, not a sound, but a pressure, a pulse, and then it vanished. Alex picked up the cube, dusted it off, and sighed. Yep, definitely not Centauri. She pulled out a small recorder. Subject uses dimensional interference. Phase stepping, possibly ancient tech. Will confirm. She paused, then added, it knows I'm here. Far away, the creature that escaped her touch sent out a new signal. Second human arrived. She's not like the first. She thinks faster, feels deeper, dangerous, and in the black corners of forgotten systems, others began to wake up. The archives on Thalos 9 were old, some parts, even older than the Council itself. But Alex Vega knew what to look for. She wasn't just chasing shadows, she was chasing math, numbers, signals, coordinates, and something was hiding inside them. Zorn. Vex watched her work from a distance. She didn't speak much, but every movement she made had a reason. At one point she paused, tilted her head, and smiled. She pointed at a single string of old data hidden in a maintenance file. There, that's the pattern. Zorn leaned closer. That's just old storage code. Alex shook her head. No, it's a map. Elsewhere in the council chamber, Ava Rios stood before the delegates. The enemy we face now isn't interested in territory, she said. It's interested in silence, in wiping things from existence. Morvala frowned. So why send a scientist? Ava answered, calm and direct. Because this war isn't about weapons, it's about what's missing. Alex followed the coordinates to an abandoned moon orbiting a broken gas giant. The planet didn't even have a name, just a number. Sector V6A3 Redline. Alone, brought only her cube, her scanner, and a notebook filled with messy handwriting. The caves beneath the moon were quiet. Too quiet, no creatures, no wind, just cold air that pressed against her chest like a warning. Deep inside the cave, she found something carved into the stone dot. Not ancient, human-made, a small message, scratched into the wall with a tool. We saw it first, we tried to run, it followed, and below that, a single name burned into metal. Project Umbra. Alex froze. She had seen that name once buried deep in Earth's lost data vaults. A project so classified it didn't even have an access key. She activated her cube. It glowed brighter than ever before, and then the cave shook. Outside, the moon's surface split open. A device rose from the dust, black, round, humming with quiet energy. Zorn. Vex's voice crackled in over the comms. Alex, what's happening? Alex stared at the rising object. I found the signal beacon. It's not transmitting anymore. She pressed a key. It's absorbing. Suddenly, a pulse shot out across space. Hundreds of systems received the same silent message. The Watchers remain. The humans seize. All across Council worlds, sensitive equipment shut down. Power grids collapsed. Even military ships went dark for 7 seconds, long enough to terrify everyone. Back at the Council, panic spread again. Ava stood fast. Don't disconnect. Let Alex finish what she started. High Counselor Morvala stood. Finish. She's awoken something ancient. Ava turned slowly and said just one thing. Good. On the moon, Alex stared at the now dormant device. Plink's voice came in. Are you okay? Alex sat down, breathing slowly. No, she said. But I just found out who's behind all this. She turned her recorder on. This isn't an invasion. It's a test, and we've already failed once. She stared at the dead stars in the sky. But Earth never fails the second time. The words echoed through Alex's mind. Project Umbra. It sounded like something from a ghost story. But Alex knew better. Ghosts didn't shut down power grids. Ghosts didn't whisper across entire star systems in a single pulse. Whatever this was, it was real, and it had been hiding a long time. Back on Vasrothi Prime, Council techs worked overtime to restore systems. Communication hubs flickered. Power relays restarted. But something had changed. Every system affected by the pulse now carried a strange mark buried deep in the code. A mark shaped like a simple human eye. Watching. Zorn. Vex entered Ava Rios's briefing room. They want answers, he said. Everyone does? Ava nodded. Then we give them the truth. She opened an old Earth file, one marked confidential. Earth level read. Project Umbra was real, she said, and it was shut down because it worked too well. Meanwhile, Alex Vega returned to her small ship. She hadn't slept. Her cube hummed constantly now, as if sensing something nearby. She plugged it into the main terminal and began unlocking the data she had found under the cave. Most of it was corrupted. but one video survived. The screen lit. UPA, shaky recording, static, heavy breathing, then a voice. If you're seeing this, get out. Do not search for the watchers. Do not activate the beacon. The screen shook, screaming, then silence. The last frame was a symbol burned into metal, a circle of stars around a single black sun. Alex sat back, heart pounding. Who were they trying to warn? She whispered. Suddenly, her cube beeped once. A signal had been found. Another device, same design, different coordinates. Alex uploaded the location. She paused only to leave a message for Ava. I'm going deeper. If I don't check in, assume it found me first. Hours later, her ship entered orbit above an abandoned science outpost on the dark side of a frozen moon. No life, no movement. But inside, lights flickered on. As if something expected her. Alex moved slowly down the hallways of the old Earth outpost. Old signs still hung from rusted doors. Lab 1, Test Bay, Umbral Engine Room. She stepped into the lab and found it, a chamber with 7 pods. 6 were shattered, 1 remained sealed. Inside was a figure not human, but wearing an old Earth badge. She stepped closer. On the glass it said, Subject 7, conscious but dormant, do not engage. Alex whispered. What did they build? Behind her, a screen suddenly flickered to life. A text file opened automatically. One line repeated again and again. You cannot erase what is remembered. Alex turned slowly. The pod was glowing. The figure inside had opened its eyes. Back on the council, Zorn Vex and Ava Rios reviewed Alex's last transmission. Then the signal cut off. Zorn whispered, she's alone. Ava stood up. No, now she's part of something bigger. Inside the frozen outpost, the last pod began to hum louder. Frost slid down its sides. Monitors came alive. Power surged through old wires that hadn't carried current in a century. Vega stood still, heart racing. The figure inside opened its eyes, silver and glowing. Not human, not machine, something in between. Then the pod spoke. Authentication recognized. Vega, a designation confirmed. Message begins. Across the galaxy, the Council's emergency meeting had begun. Leaders from 20 systems argued. Some demanded Earth pull Alex back. Others blamed her for waking up a threat long buried. Zorn Vex remained silent. Ava Rios stood tall. Earth didn't cause this, she said, but we're the only ones who prepared for it. High Counselor Morvala pointed a sharp claw. And how exactly did Earth prepare for something even we don't understand? Ava replied calmly. We sent her. Back in the lab, the pod released its final breath of steam and opened with a soft hiss. The figure stepped out, slowly, tall, metallic, but clearly alive. Its voice was quiet and deep. I am not here to harm you. I am here because you came. Alex held her cube tightly. Who are you? The being turned its head slightly, as if listening to a memory. I was the first warning. Project Umbra was built to send a message into the future, into your hands. He walked toward a console and activated a hologram. It showed a dark fleet, hundreds of ships made of obsidian alloy, pulsing like they were alive. These ships are not from your time, not from your galaxy. He pointed to a red-marked point. In space, they enter through cracks, places where light bends wrong. They don't take planets, they erase civilizations. Alex whispered, they're already here, aren't they? The being nodded. You woke the signal. That means they've seen Earth again. Suddenly, the outpost trembled. Outside, a black, shard-like drone pierced the moon's crust and hovered. Then a second, then dozens. Alex looked at the being. What do we do? The answer came with a calm, simple voice. We finish what Earth started. We make them remember who they're dealing with. On the council station, emergency alerts rang. Vazrathi satellites picked up dozens of unmarked, fast-moving vessels heading straight for neutral space. Plink turned pale. They're not using normal engines. Zorn Vex's eyes widened. They're already bypassing our defenses. Ava stood and sent a transmission to Alex. You're not just investigating anymore. You're Earth's first shield now. Alex stared at the dark drones outside. She pulled the cube from her belt and handed it to the being. Can you use this? He smiled faintly. It's mine. You were only borrowing it. Together, they activated an ancient console, and beneath the moon, something massive shifted. Old metal, buried rails, a hidden structure that began to rise. Alex whispered, Is that a weapon? The being turned to her. No, It's a reminder. As the dark fleet approached, and panic spread through the stars again, one message echoed across every active system. The second human is not a soldier. She is the key. Beneath the frozen moon, the ancient machine kept rising. Metal arms unfolded. Antennas turned like they were listening for something not of this galaxy. Alex Vega watched with wide eyes. This was never in the Council's records, she said softly. The ancient being beside her Subject 7 placed his hand on the platform. Because this was not built for them. It was built for you. On Vazirathi Prime, the Council chamber was in chaos. The unknown fleet was now inside Council space. Moving fast, changing course unpredictably, passing by warships as if they were nothing. Zorn Vex stood frozen, watching the reports come in. They aren't attacking, he whispered. Ava Rios frowned. Because they're searching. Back on the moon, Alex and Subject 7 entered a command room that hadn't been touched in hundreds of years. A round chamber, 7 consoles, and in the center a black sphere spinning in mid-air. Alex stepped closer. Her scanner blinked wildly. The readings made no sense. Heat, 0 energy output, infinite age, unknown. She looked at Subject 7. What is it? He answered slowly. A lock. To hold something that should never be set free. Alex leaned in, watching strange symbols flash across the sphere's surface. Suddenly, it reacted to her presence. A line of text appeared in English. Key detected. Unlocking sequence standby. Alex stepped back, heart pounding. I didn't do anything. Subject 7 stepped forward. You did everything. You came. Outside the chamber, the ancient outpost began powering up, lights humming, old Earth codes firing across systems long dead. But one satellite buried in orbit for centuries suddenly came online. It beamed a signal directly at the oncoming enemy fleet. Coordinates, a pulse, and one word, encoded in Earth's original command language: standby. Inside the lock chamber, a hologram appeared, blurry and damaged, but the voice was clear. It was Ray Torres. If you're seeing this, the galaxy's in trouble again. Project Umbra wasn't just a warning, it was a cage. But the enemy doesn't want to break in, they want to open it. Alex froze. They're not here to fight us. She looked up. They're here to release what we locked away. Subject 7 nodded. And you, Alex Vega, are the only one left who can keep it sealed. Alex stared at her hands. I'm not Ray Torres. No, Subject 7 said. Ray ended a war. But you have to stop a beginning. Back on the Council station, more signals came in. The unknown ships were converging on one location. The moon Alex was on. Zorn stood. They know she's the key. Ava Rios turned to the Council. If she fails, we don't get another chance. In the cave, the lock pulsed, red, then blue, then white. Alex took a deep breath. Her voice shook, but she stood tall. Tell me what I have to do. Subject 7 placed a hand over the console. Not fight. Remember. Because this wasn't just a war over territory or power. This was about memory. What the galaxy had forgotten. What only Earth had saved. And what Alex Vega had unknowingly been trained to protect her entire life. The sky above the frozen moon turned black. Not from nightfall. From the fleet. Hundreds of obsidian ships hovered silently in orbit, shaped like knives and insects, pulsing with dull, unnatural light. They didn't broadcast warnings. They didn't demand surrender. They simply watched. Inside the old Umbra station, Alex Vega stood beside Subject 7. The lock sphere in the center of the room pulsed with strange symbols, code mixed with unknown patterns. Her heart beat fast. Her palms were shaking. She wasn't a soldier, but she was chosen. Why aren't they attacking? She asked quietly. Subject 7 responded, because they want to know if you'll open it for them. Alex turned to him sharply. You said I had to keep it sealed. You do, he said, but they're hoping you'll make a mistake. On the Council station, chaos returned. Admirals screamed for preemptive strikes. Some demanded that Alex be abandoned, but Ava Rios stepped forward and activated a projection streaming Alex's exact coordinates and feed. If you pull her out, Ava said coldly, you'll be pulling out the only person who understands what this actually is. Zorn Vex added softly, and if she fails, no army will matter. Back in the moon's chamber, the lock sphere stopped pulsing. The chamber, lights dimmed. Subject 7 stepped back. It's time. Alex hesitated. Time for what? A new panel slid open from the floor. Inside, an object floated silently, a second cube, but not like hers. This one was older, warmer, engraved with a human fingerprint. She reached for it, and in that instant, the lock spoke. Timeline registered. Override confirmed. Initiating last defense protocol. Alex stumbled back. Wait, what is that? Subject 7 looked directly at her. Earth didn't build a weapon. Earth built a memory engine. In orbit, the Black Fleet stirred. Their ships shifted formation, but they still did not fire. Instead, they sent one message across all channels. Deliver the key, or we erase the system. Alex gritted her teeth. Her cube glowed white. The older cube shimmered gold. Together, they fused inside the console. A wave of light passed through the station. Every screen on the Council's mainframe went black. Then one symbol appeared. A spiral made of stars, Earth's lost emblem from before first contact. And then, the galaxy saw what Earth had really built. The frozen moon split. From beneath the crust, a machine larger than any Council ship rose. It wasn't a warship. It wasn't a cannon. It was a temporal anchor, a structure designed to lock time itself in place, and at the center was a memory core that held the true version of the galaxy's past, all erased civilizations, all silenced worlds, all the data Earth had saved for this exact moment. The Black Fleet saw it and for the first time they moved fast, hostile there. Weapons lit up. Alex placed her hand on the anchor's core and whispered, I don't need to fight you. I just need to remind the galaxy who we are. The anchor activated. A pulse shot across space, not a weapon, but a wave of restored memory. Billions of species, devices, and worlds suddenly remembered everything the enemy had erased. And the Black Fleet, it began to flicker. Some of its ships broke apart, unable to exist in a timeline where their lives had been undone. Ava Rios watched the map update in real time. She's doing it, she whispered. Zornvex stood stunned. She's winning with memory. Alex pressed deeper. Images flashed through her mind. Ray Taurus, Earth's first war. Old Earth warnings stored in sound, scent, and light. The more she accessed, the more the enemy unraveled. But deep in the shadows of space, one ship didn't fall back. It remained still, watching, waiting. Waiting. Then it sent a private message only to Alex. You may have memory, but we have time. See you before this ever began. The signal cut off. Alex turned to Subject 7. They're going to time travel. He nodded once. Then you must go first. Alex Vega stood before the temporal anchor's heart. The golden cube she had activated was still glowing, now pulsing faster, as if something was counting down. Subject 7 stood beside her, calm as always. The enemy is preparing to enter the past, he said. They want to erase Earth before we ever reach the stars. Alex's voice was low. Then I have to stop them. Subject 7 nodded once. There's no backup, no second chance. If you go alone. Above the moon, the Black Fleet stopped retreating. One of their ships, larger than the rest, disappeared in a flash of distortion. A time breach. They were already moving into the past, and if they arrived first, humanity's timeline would collapse. On the Council station, Zornvex and Ava Rios watched the data stream change. Systems went missing. Historical logs began erasing themselves. Entire planets vanished from memory. Plink shouted. What's happening? Ava's face turned pale. There, editing history. Back in the chamber, the platform beneath Alex opened. Stairs descended into white light. Subject 7 handed her a final data shard. This will guide you. You must find the first moment Earth made contact with the stars. Alex gripped it. And if I don't? Subject 7 didn't answer, because they both knew the truth. She failed. Earth would never exist. She stepped into the light. The chamber faded. Silence fell. And then, Alex opened her eyes. She was no longer on the moon. No longer in her time. The air smelled different. Clean. The gravity was strange. She looked up and saw Earth's first deep space launch tower, still under construction. She had gone back over a century, to the moment before Earth's signal reached the galaxy. But she wasn't alone. A man stood across the dusty launch pad. Not alien, not machine. He wore old Earth clothing jeans, a brown jacket. He smiled and raised a hand. Took you long enough, he said. Alex stepped closer, stunned. Who are you? The man chuckled. Ray Torres. Well, a version of him. She stared in disbelief. You died decades ago. Ray shrugged. History's flexible now, and we've got one shot to fix it. Suddenly, time flickered around them. A pulse of dark energy struck the sky. One of the black enemy ships was phasing into the past above the Earth tower. Its weapon ports opened, targeting the launch pad. Alex turned to Ray. If they destroy this site, Earth never joins the stars. Ray nodded. Then we stop them here. Alex pulled the golden cube from her bag. We can't match their firepower. Ray grinned. Good thing we don't have to. He pulled out his own cubolder, cracked, but still glowing faintly. This isn't about force, it's about proof. Together, they activated the cubes. A massive projection rose from the launch pad, a bright spiral of stars, encoded with Earth's entire history, from fire to flight, from war to peace, from silence to signal. The data lit up the sky like a second sun. The black ship paused, its targeting stopped, because now, the truth could not be erased. Humanity's story had already entered time, and memory, once seen, cannot be deleted. Back in the present, Zorn Vex gasped. Historical records reappeared. Planets returned to maps. Ships remembered their missions. Plink shouted, "She did it." The timeline's healing, Ava whispered. No. She rewrote the attack before it started. Alex stood on the launch pad, watching the enemy ship flicker and vanish. Ray turned to her. He did it. But Alex frowned. No, there's still one more piece left. She looked at the data shard Subject 7 gave her. There's something buried even deeper. A final truth. The sky cracked again. Not black this time, white light, pure and infinite. Ray looked at it. That's not an attack. Alex stared. That's the real enemy's door opening. And from that light, a voice spoke directly to her mind. Human, we remember you now. We're coming back. The white light in the sky widened. It didn't burn. It didn't scream. It called. Alex Vega stood on Earth's first launch pad, her golden cube glowing like it recognized what was coming. Ray, his older faded, yet still solid, stood quietly beside her. This isn't them, he said softly. This is us. Back. In the present, Ava Rios stared at the council screen. The Black Fleet had vanished. The damage was reversed, but a new signal came through the old Umbra beacon. It wasn't hostile. It wasn't encrypted. It was a pulse of DNA, human yet not from Earth. In the past, the light cracked fully open, and a figure stepped out. Not machine, not alien, but human, or something very close. Eyes full of stars, skin shimmered like light through water. It looked at Alex, smiled. You remembered. Alex stepped forward. Her voice was shaky. Who are you? The being answered. We are the ones Earth left behind. Ray's eyes narrowed. You're the other half of Project Umbra. The being nodded. Long ago, before Earth joined the stars, we were sent out. Carriers of memory, knowledge, backup consciousness, in case Earth fell. But something intercepted us, twisted our mission, used us to erase instead of preserve. Alex realized the truth. The Black Fleet hadn't been an invader. It had been the corrupted remnants of Earth's first great safeguard, driven mad by time, lost in forgotten space, used by something else. And now, the last clean part had returned out to her. The being held out its hand. With your memory and our foundation, we can restart what was meant to protect all. Alex hesitated. What if I'm wrong? The being smiled again. Then the galaxy still learned what it forgot. That humanity isn't powerful because of weapons, but because it remembers. Alex touched the being's hand, and time stopped. Across the stars, change began. Entire systems that had been wiped were restored. Races thought extinct reappeared in the archives. Council worlds blinked as old alliances lit back into being. And above Earth, the sky shimmered with a spiral of light. The new Umbra core had been reformed not as a lock, but a lighthouse. Ray Torres began to fade. He looked at Alex one last time. You were never the second human, he said. You were the one we always needed next. Alex smiled, tears in her eyes. And you were never gone. Back on Vasrothi Prime, the council stood in silence as Ava Rios broadcasted the final update. The memory has been restored. The future is stable. Zorn Vex whispered. And the girl? Ava smiled faintly. She's not a girl anymore. She's the reason we remember who we are. Alex Vega stood once more on the launch pad now, back in her time. She looked up at the sky. The stars didn't look the same anymore, because now, they remembered her. End season.